The 6 to 7 Figure Show, episode 41. Let's hit it.
Broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun outside Phoenix, Arizona. This is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Tired of working so hard and having no time? Take your six-figure practice and turn it to a thriving seven-figure enterprise. And now, your host, author, speaker, mentor, and strategist, Frank Bria.
Hey everyone, welcome to the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I'm your host, Frank Bria, and today I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by Ben Kniffen, who is the co-founder of Link Selling with Josh Turner. If you're familiar, Ben's overseeing the creation and the day-to-day operations and growth of every division of the company, from LinkedIn agency to the paid ads agency. Their internal sales team has grown the company from a team of 2 to over 50 team members. During Ben's downtime, he loves to hang out with his wife, Erin, his 2 daughters, Olivia and Claire, watch Cardinals baseball and play music. Known for his sense of humor and optimistic attitude, Ben is also a professional musician and master sudoku solver. I gotta tell you, I appreciate the sudoku piece. I'm a little bit of a numbers geek.
I wish. I'm sure there are there's got to be tournaments out there for those types of people, and admittedly, I would probably be joining them if they were more easily accessible. But I've yet to do the Google search required to.
There are tournaments for less weird stuff, more weird stuff than that. So
that's true. Yep.
Good to go. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. Super happy to be here. I definitely love talking all things business and scaling, and I know well, at least I hope we're going to have some good stuff to cover for your crowd.
We will. I'm sure we will. So a lot of folks are probably not familiar with the level of depth that linked selling is these days. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown of everything you guys do? Because there's a lot of stuff there. I was originally familiar with the original sort of flagship offering where you guys help folks specifically drive LinkedIn sales opportunities, but you guys have expanded. You guys have a lot of stuff there. Can you bring us up to date?
Yeah. So we, the area of marketing is very, very broad, and there are a lot of people out there who try to be all things to all people. Now, our expansion is not that. Our specialty is lead gen, more notably B2B lead gen. And so we did have this flagship offering. It's still in place. That division is still there. It's growing. It's booming. It's really great. But at the same time, we wanted to offer more to our communities and to our clients in terms of different programs and products to help grow their business. And of course, when you begin to scale, when you begin to grow, you start turning your head elsewhere to kind of see what else you can put in the mix. So we do have a division that's LinkedIn lead generation, and it generally falls into one or two categories. Either we do it for you, or we partner with you to help build some of the system and then train you on how to run it yourself. Mm-hmm. We have a great training division that we utilize for that. And then along the way, we have been very successful using Facebook ads and using LinkedIn ads, basically paid social media ads. And it got to the point where our clients were saying, hey, we see you doing this. We want to add this to the mix too, not just do the LinkedIn organic stuff. And sometimes there's businesses that maybe fit one model better than the next. Sometimes there are businesses who both it works for. Sometimes there are businesses who need one or the other. And so we also now have a division. That division is called Elite Digital Group that runs all of our paid social media ads for clients. And they'll do some funnel building, creating lead magnets, lead gen, capturing opt-ins, that sort of thing. And then we have 2 SaaS products. We have an email marketing product called Connect 365. There are a lot of people who think that email is dying, and that's not the case. There's just a lot of people who don't know how to do email.
Right.
And so we have a lot of training, and we have a SaaS program that shows them how to do it. And sorry for the long-winded answer, but we also have another SaaS product called Emphatic, which helps clients. The software component is basically it shares content, similar to like your Hootsuite type of product.
Right.
But we actually will curate the content for you and write the blurbs for it. Whereas some of these other software products, they're just an auto scheduler.
Right.
We actually provide some done for you component. And so again, all these kind of fit together under the B2B lead gen umbrella. So that's really kind of the whole suite of service offerings that we provide.
No, I mean, and you've basically put kind of chips down on a lot of the different spaces on the B2B lead gen board, which is really, really nice. You can see the growth of the expansion. One of the things that Link Selling's an Inc. 500 company now, isn't it? Like you guys got that a couple of years ago?
We were Inc. 500 company first back. It would have been 4 years ago.
Okay.
And so we have been on the Inc. 5000 list 4 years in a row, which is not the easiest thing to do.
No.
And accolades don't always, they don't pay the bills.
Right.
But it is a good barometer to show how you're growing. And one of our core values is just growth. That is one of our core values, that we are not the type of business who says, hey, we're just going to get to this place and then we're going to stay and hang out. We want to constantly be growing, because nothing that's ever stagnant, usually that's not a good place to be. And we want our clients to grow. And so, that's we're pretty proud of that one, to be on that list.
For those people who aren't familiar with it, to get on the Inc. list, it's about percentage of growth. It's a year over year percentage growth. So it's not like the Fortune list where it's just a asset size. So if you're big, you can kind of park yourself there. You have to earn that every single year by continuing that year over year. So for you guys to do it 4 years in a row, that shows the level of growth you guys are at. And so I want to just clarify that for those people who don't know. That's a pretty big, impressive metric to hit over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, it's not the only barometer, but it's sure a good one. If you're able to continue to grow at that rate and make a list like that, it shows that you are doing a lot of the right things right. And that's what we also try to help our clients with. We want them to scale with us, essentially.
Right. So the growth that comes with that Inc. 5000 listing 4 years in a row also comes probably with a lot of growing pains. A lot of people who have heard, you grow from 2 to 50 at this point, or over 50 at this point in terms of number of employees. That's a lot to do in a short period of time. And a lot of things come with building a team. Those people have never built a team or run a team at that size, probably aren't familiar. Walk us through the journey there a little bit. What are some of the learnings along the way as you grew that organization, and what has changed in how you operate now that you've grown a larger team?
Yeah, I'll start with a couple lessons learned along the way. Everyone always talks about systems, and you got to get systems in place. But then all of a sudden, if you're fortunate enough to get in a position of fast growth, you're all of a sudden kind of, you're driving the car at a miles per hour that you have never encountered before. It's like, I've always driven at 60 and now I'm driving at 200. What do I do? And you think to yourself, okay, the systems aren't as important anymore. We just got to keep going. And I would say that's absolutely not true. The systems become even more important. And so, honestly, in the beginning, when you're growing fast, I think strategy is a very, very important part to getting over your first couple hurdles in terms of growing. But once you begin growing a team, it really is more about the people who are on board. So it becomes more about training. It becomes more about your systems. It becomes more about management, hiring good team members. These are things that you don't think about when you're a team of, say, 8. You're not thinking about, do I need a system to hire great people?
Right.
But when you become a team of 50, and you might be in a situation like I am now, where, I've got to start a new division that we're hiring 10 new team members for in about a week or two. Yeah. That is going to be so, the success of that division is going to be solely on the shoulders of those people who I hire. So I have to do things like make sure I have a great hiring system in place to be able to get to that type of level. And so anytime I think, is this too much? Is there too much detail here? Am I being, a little overly detailed in having, an SOP that is written? And that's absolutely not the case. There's never been a time where I've said, oh, there's been too much detail in this system. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So,
the engineering process is pretty important for those systems. That's what I'm hearing you saying.
Yeah. You get to a place where you really have to start studying a number of different topics and be familiar with them to understand how to build something out and put it together. And you don't always have to do them all yourself. There's a service provider for every single thing that's out there that you need help with. But if you don't have a really clear understanding on how to hire people, how to manage people, if you don't have a clear understanding on marketing strategy because you need to generate more leads, these are things you really got to be getting knee deep into.
Yeah. What one big lesson can you share in terms of hiring the right people? I mean, obviously there's something you mentioned, systems are important there, but as people are listening to this and they're thinking, they're contemplating probably their first few hires, getting a team of 5 or 10 in place. What are some lessons you kind of wish someone had told you about hiring at the beginning before you started building that team?
I would say trying to make sure you have a good profile of what of who you are trying to hire. I think that is super important for people to understand that you can actually create a portrait of what a successful person will look like who joins your team. Yeah. And I think the other thing is having a good understanding of what roles you need to get and in what order. Our company, and I think a lot of successful companies really go from marketing to sales to delivery and customer service or service delivery, if you will.
Right.
And I will see people grow their teams out of order with that. First I have to have some systems in place and a team in place to generate enough leads. Then I have to have a system in place and a team in place to actually sell those leads. And then I have to have a system and a team in place to deliver those leads. And it is a little bit of a juggling act, making sure one doesn't shoot up while the others are down here. Sure. And you got to have them all kind of go up together. And it's an easy concept to talk about. It can be a little challenging to execute, but if you have if you can see, create a vision and see a little bit further down the road than just, a mile or two, then it helps you to be able to plan for those things. I think in the beginning, there's a lot of times we were thinking, hey, we're going to move super fast and we're only thinking a couple weeks or a couple months ahead, and didn't do as much thinking of going a couple years ahead and seeing how do we get to this place in a couple of years versus how do we get to this place in a couple of months.
Right. So some strategic planning along with that as well.
Yeah.
That's great. I want to dig in on the customer delivery piece. I think you nailed it in terms of ordering, but one of the things that, at least as an outside observer to you guys, that's been really fascinating is to watch you scale a done with you service and lead generation. And not a lot of people are able to pull that off. It's just lots of stories about agencies folding up or becoming overwhelmed or not being able to scale because they just they can't create repeatable processes. What are some of the things that you think have made you guys successful in being able to add more and more people to linked selling as fundamentally a scalable offering? What has made that work for you, do you think?
Well, obviously, the marketing is a big piece to that. And within our marketing, making sure that we're educating our clients enough as to why they need this service, and then giving them the ability to interact with us. We're in a day and age now where I don't think you can just actually, let me watch what I say. You can call somebody out of the blue and you can make them a client, but you're going to stand a better chance the more touch points you're able to get for those. And so we have tried in our marketing and our clients' marketing as well to just focus on systems that create more and more touch points, educate the prospect more, build more rapport with them so that we can get them into a sales conversation. There's a certain level of trust that's already been built up. makes the selling situation a lot easier at that point. And it's just all kind of, I don't want to say like it all just kind of trickles down from there, but that piece is so important to being able to scale by finding marketing systems where you can reach more than one person at a time. That is really the thing that I think we have done really good at. For instance, we've done a lot of webinars, and that has been a really good tactic for us. And at the same time, we've utilized our own systems that we provide for our clients by focusing on LinkedIn, on key relationships and key prospects that could become clients. And we've tried not to focus on just closing one deal, but how do we have a system that gets our message out to the masses so that we can get as many people coming to us as possible?
Yeah. I mean, one thing you're hammering home is repeatable systems and having those repeatable systems in place for yourself. Have you found that as you were growing that those systems were helping you sort of inform what kinds of clients you can't take on? Because that becomes sometimes an issue for people as they're growing, as they're finding that those systems actually tend to disqualify certain kinds of people. Is that a process you guys had to go through to kind of figure out who would be likely successful and who wouldn't be successful working with you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's times along the way you begin to see, I would maybe use a different strategy for this type of prospect versus, this prospect, this strategy works really great. We kind of know where we fall. I mean, if our target market happens to be B2B service and product providers. Now, that's not the only market we sell to, but if you fall in that space and you have a high value ticket item that you sell, whether it's a service or product, there's a good chance we are a great fit. And there's a huge part of the market that fits that. But there's also, some other types of businesses out there that maybe aren't the best fit.
Sure.
It just depends, on what specifically somebody is looking for to have done with them. But that's also, I better watch what I say, because that's one of the reasons we grew the paid ads division, is because a lot of the areas where we thought, using a LinkedIn strategy isn't as good, we had a social media ad strategy that could work. And so maybe, I guess to answer your question, yes, we were beginning to see that there are certain clients who maybe weren't a fit for this service. And so we started another division to kind of capture that market, because again, we're not trying to be all things to all people, but what we are trying to do is really be able to provide whatever lead gen solution you need at the time, to help your business grow, essentially.
Yeah, that's fascinating because, when I've been watching you guys roll out additional product areas, one sort of obvious thing to see is that you're adding tangential services to kind of fill out the offering, right? To kind of wrap your arms around the entire problem and make sure that you've got something for everyone. But what you're saying is this has also been a growth strategy for you as well, to kind of pick up potentially clients that may not have otherwise been a good fit for some other things. So you're kind of growing it both vertically and horizontally at the same time.
Yeah, that's absolutely 110% right. And, when you're talking about tangentially, just how we're adding these, we had this core strategy, and still do, this core strategy about how we teach our prospects and the services we provide for our clients who need LinkedIn lead generation. We have this strategy on how we're teaching them to generate leads and become a thought leader in the space. And some of our software products are things that really help that process out to automate it more. Yes. So again, we're just really trying to, anytime that we see a gap, really try and plug it with some sort of service or some sort of product that can help just improve the efficiency of that system. It really comes down to having a process to create a prospect profile, be able to find where those people are hanging out, build a database of them, and get a message in front of them that is able to essentially get them on a phone call into a selling situation.
Yeah.
Almost all of marketing can kind of be wrapped under that umbrella. There's just different types of platforms and ways to do it. And so we try to cover our bases, that system, and helping people plug their business into whatever platform they need to.
Yeah. It's as you're describing that process, I think a lot of people are looking at that and saying to themselves, okay, so the processes or the systems that you would be, that are required to grow a sort of done for you model seem to be beyond a lot of people. They struggle with that a lot, and in fact, so much so that there's this little myth out there that done for you services aren't scalable at all.
Yeah.
Although you guys have proven that's not true, and other people have proven that's not true. Why do you think people are getting that wrong? Like, what do you think they're stumbling on in your estimation that's keeping them from providing that level of service at scale?
Yeah. First off, when I talk about, marketing and then sales and then the delivery, I would either they're getting all three of those things wrong, or there's something along the way where the system is breaking. If you're a business who says we just can't scale, you can't say that everything is wrong, right? I can't say we can't scale, so I need a different service delivery team so that we can scale. And then the real issue is, well, you're not really getting that many leads every single month.
Right.
So why are you going to change that piece of the system? And so for many businesses, it could be that they have a lot of great things in place, but really only one area is broken. It could be a major area.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the key to scaling is generating leads. If you can generate leads, that might be the toughest part. I mean, it all takes a lot of work.
Sure.
But generating leads is one of the toughest things to do out there. And that's why, we have grown the way that we have, is because we've had a lot of clients who need help in that area. It's not an uncommon problem to say, I don't have enough leads. If you got plenty of leads and you're not closing any of them, then I know that that's a sales problem. Right. But 9 times out of 10, businesses are just struggling generating enough leads to grow at the rate that they're trying to grow.
Yeah, I think it's a really good insight, is that there's a number of different areas where the pain points could be, and you've got to be really clear about what those are. I mean, we've all heard stories of salespeople that just don't have enough enough stuff to close, and then people blame it on the salespeople, but really there's just not lead flow there, and that's really the problem. Yeah, it's there's an old saying. I always am a little hesitant to say it, but I still think it's kind of true. The revenue will cover a multitude of sins. If you can generate the leads and the sales, you can usually have the revenue to figure out how to solve your delivery problems.
That's absolutely
the other way around.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But the thing is, when you start scaling and you realize if you put a system in place to generate a lot of leads, it's kind of like, let me back up. I'll use this analogy. Learning your first musical instrument or learning your first foreign language can be kind of difficult.
Yeah.
But once you learn one musical instrument, it's much easier to learn the second. And once you learn one foreign language, it's much easier to learn the second. And it's kind of the same way in business when you're scaling. If you realize like, oh, this is how I grow, this is how I put a marketing system in place and grow it, you kind of understand what it takes to implement a system and get it to scale up and move. And you take the same theory, there are going to be some things that are different about it, no doubt, and you begin to move it to other areas in your business. But most of the time, I think it starts with having good marketing systems and lead gen in place. Almost 95% of the time, that's the issue that I see businesses having. That's the name of the game today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great advice. All right, quick pivot. What do you play?
So my main instrument is bass. I was actually a music major in college, and I play both electric and upright. And if you're knee deep into bass playing, most people would say, do you come from classical side or the jazz side? I was on the jazz side.
Nice.
So yep. It turns out though that musicians, there's only a small chunk of them that make a lot of money. And so a lot of what got me on my path is, again, just having a very entrepreneurial mindset and just wanting to make a little bit more money than your everyday musician makes. But I still play all the time. I actually just ordered a new bass a couple weeks ago. So,
nice.
Yep, that's
awesome.
what I play.
No, I
Yep.
can totally appreciate that. I had a brief blip in college where I thought I was going to be a music major as well. Like 2 years of theory and composition. But what I learned is that if you're classically trained, as soon as you get to jazz, all that stuff gets thrown out the window anyway. So,
Yeah, I mean, they're good. They're good skills to learn for a number of reasons.
Oh, sure.
But it's in a city like St. Louis. You know, this is one of the things I learned along the way. It's you're basically not. There's not that many musicians who are making a good full-time living only playing and playing music alone, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And so, yeah, it can be a bit of a struggle, but that also kind of led me on my path to have gotten me where I'm at now, ironically, but that might be a story for another day. So
No, but that's great though. I have a fascination with those outside hobbies that people create these skill sets, where you really have to spend the time and energy. These aren't just like, stupid things you can, pick up maybe once a year or something like that. You really have to stay on top of the game if you're a musician. That's for sure.
Well, there's some things about it that actually relate to business a great deal, where sometimes it's not, the best, most knowledgeable musician isn't the one who's always employed all the time. It's the one who's the most dependable and responsible and gets the job done.
Sure.
And a lot of times that ends up being the case in business. It doesn't matter how smart you are. You
Right.
have to be actually deliver and show up and be on time and be dependable to get the job done. And a lot of times those are the businesses that grow and are successful.
Yep, absolutely. Defining value in the eyes of the client, essentially. That's great. Ben, we're out of time, unfortunately. It's been a great conversation with you. Before we wrap it up, though, for those listeners who are want to connect with Link Selling, see what you guys are up to, where's a good place for them to start?
Yeah, we have, so our website is linkselling.com. We have a lot of great content there if you want to go over there, but I know we're going to have a link in the show notes for one of our webinars.
Great.
It's our rocket launch webinar. And if you're at a place where you're saying, I just need a little more help to get my marketing ramped up, to kind of add a rocket launch type of element to your marketing, I'd say go to this webinar and we dive in on some of the systems and strategies we help our clients with in terms of using LinkedIn to generate more leads for you to sell on a regular ongoing basis, setting up a system to be able to have month in, month out leads coming in to create more sales situations, more predictable revenue.
Yeah. Well, systematized lead generation sounds like a great place to start. So if it's link below the video, if you're listening to the audio on the show notes page, if you're just out and about listening, come on back to the show notes page, click on through to that training. It sounds like a great idea. Ben, thanks so much for being with us. Really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks, Frank. It was my pleasure. And I hope everybody got something out of it. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for being with us on this episode of the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I've been your host, Frank Bria. And again, lead generation is a critical element. So I highly encourage you to take a look at that system, that process in your business to make sure it's shored up. And if not, make sure you jump on that. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.